episode of Views from the Bridge, your second favorite podcast about the Philadelphia Union. This is a special episode we got for you guys this week. Preview episode for our match this weekend against NYCFC. I have Yusuf and Sanchez from the NYCFC Forever podcast. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hello and good evening,
What is it?
Philadelphia. I'm always a little bit of high energy, so
I love it. The energy is
yes.
great. I need the energy
Mm.
tonight. You know, we are. It is 8:30 and it is time to go to
Yeah,
bed.
I know it's a little sleepy.
So
I
I got
know
something in my eye. Excuse me.
it's so heavy.
yeah,
Excuse
yeah,
me.
exactly, exactly. All
This
right. So
championship rig.
first of
This
all,
championship rig here is.
we're gonna get there someday. Let me tell you what, we're gonna get there someday.
You
We were
tried.
Someday.
so close until Gareth Bale ruined our dreams
Oh man.
several years
I
ago.
love it.
You know, we were one kick of the ball away from that.
and
Um,
uh, and 18 COVID positives away from it.
18 COVID. Yep, that too. Forgot about that the year before. Um, well, hey guys.
What's up?
First of all, tell me about your podcast. Tell me about what you guys do, your podcast, where people can find you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, go
You
for it.
kind of. So I like to use this phrase that Dave, our third co-host, says. He said, kind of using the Wu Tang line. I got a sick ass click and then went all out. So it's like it's we're all kid. We all friends. We've been here since day one, and we've realized that we're a little bit of sickos when it comes to footy. So, and we don't really hear our voice in the space. So we said, let's get together and kind of take our game day vibes are, or how we talk throughout the week, and talk about our team, and then also just a little bit more broad of the sport, and kind of give people that flavor that like three guys from New York. You know,
Yeah, we're really like into uh we're not really like soccer statistically background efficient, like but we are like three guys who one way or another fell in love with the game, and uh we're just like it's like kind of like I don't want to say bar stool talk, but like three guys who just hanging out
it's
at the
barbershop, like
stoop
yeah, like
at barbershop talk, yeah, and just talking about this. Just three guys who just talk a lot of crap and just enjoy the shenanigans that comes with outside of the game itself. Like the pregame stuff, the postgame stuff, the in stadium vibes. That's kind
like
of our main focus. But we definitely like to enjoy to break down the games and the way that we're able to express ourselves and while making fun and enjoying it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what we are so much too. It's just we love just talking about the union, talking about soccer, and we'll talk about it with anybody. And so, love that energy, that vibe. That's super cool. So this weekend, NYC Union meet for the first time in 2025. Two new coaches. Different, a little different flavor. In the way that we're meeting. And so, tell me a little bit about what your off season has been like. Kind of how you guys are feeling about the team so far, and the start that NYCFC has had this year.
I'll start by saying that obviously we have a new coach who's not from the league, is a Dutch back. He's Dutch, has European pedigree, has a has a history in kind of what like Jim Curtin was playing the youth. His MO has always been growing and developing younger players and molding them into what he would like. And that being said, we've kind of had no incoming transfers this off season. We players have left and nobody's come in, and the theme around the front office is that the coach needs time to evaluate the players, the players he has, and hopefully we're hoping at least through into the summer transfer window we start shaking it up. So that's kind of left us into a position of like results where you're like, what else can you expect with the roster we have?
like, the same sentiments. Is pretty much. Uh, he's come in. He's a little. He's kind. It's hard to say he's brought life to the club because really we've only have gotten players out. We really have not brought anybody in. But I think from a distance we're seeing sort of the vision of what the playstyle may look like. So we're a little excited to, if the right signings come in, we can see what that potential might be.
Yes.
So we're taking everything like week to week, almost like we know where the faults are. It's every game is the same faults, but so we're taking everything in stride, at least for this part of the season.
Yeah. With this, there's that hope that if players that the coach wants come, he's able to bring some players that he wants that fill the needs that he thinks that we need, the holes that we he thinks we need. That I kind of see where we're going. We just don't have the pieces to complete this puzzle yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That's interesting because I feel like, as a as a Union fan, I feel like, obviously, I think we've probably looked at our coaching change and gone, there's been way too much movement from last year with McGlynn to Houston, Jack Elliott to Chicago. Now this big rumor that Gazdogg's headed to Columbus,
That
and it's
wasn't
like,
that confirmed
whew.
already?
I don't know if it's been I haven't seen
I
the
think I
announcement.
saw a
Like,
tweet today that he was in training at Columbus already today.
oh,
That
really?
he was
Mm.
I
seen at
haven't.
the training facility.
I haven't seen that. I've seen Bogart's article about it, but haven't seen the confirmation yet. And so it is just like, I think we look at it and we're like, man, that seems like a lot of change in a really short amount of time, and with not a lot of the ability to get kind of on the same page and all of that. Now that being said, he brought a couple of his guys, Carnell brought a couple of his guys from St. Louis that had played with him there, and that sort of thing in. So there's some of that I think, it's like, okay, he did bring some of his guys in. Um, but I would have almost been more comfortable with like, all right, let's keep the roster a little bit the same, and then switch systems. But I think Carnell's one of those guys who like, all right, you got to fit the system if you're going to play here. Um, who has been, I guess, exciting for you? I guess if he's bringing some youth players along, even if he hasn't made that kind of impact signing yet, if he's bringing some young players along, who's been exciting for you so far this year?
Well, up top, our striker, who basically wasn't signed as a center forward, signed as a winger, who basically just took over the role last year and has dominated. Alonso Martinez, he seems to be pretty close to scoring a goal every game, and he's someone who's been surprisingly lethal. And I'm at a point where I don't even think that center forward position is a position of need anymore. I think we have our guy.
Hmm.
We just need to work around him.
Yeah.
And as one of the young players, there's a kid, Johnny Shore. He plays like D mid. He's like 17 years old. He debuted against Miami at the opening game of the season. Uh, and straight up, he has the potential to be like a baller. Like this guy is fearless for
Yeah.
a small. He's a small frame person. Like he's not a big 17-year-old. He's kind of short and small in stature, and he's not afraid to put in tackles. He has a sense of a vision of passing. All that being said, he's also 17 years old, doesn't have
Yeah.
much experience. So then it's like there is moments, lapses in judgments that he has, which is, I guess, expected from any rookie, no matter how old you might be. And so, yeah, those are the two players I think that if I were a Philly on the Philly side, I would say watch out for those two players this weekend.
For me, this season, kind of like how that last season ended, and I mean, this might hurt you guys. Is the player I'm most excited to kind of see even get reach another level is Matt Freese, because he's provided sort of this security
Former
blanket for
Philadelphia
us,
Union player.
um to we don't really worry about like shots on target. If he's able to see it coming, like with his not deflected, kind of all the stuff that can happen, I want to say 9 times out of 10, Freeze is stopping that ball. Um, and then on top of that, making a smart decision after. So he's coming into his own. So for me, I want to see him reach that level where he kind of challenges for the national team number 1 spot. So whatever that requires, I'm excited to see that this year. And then youth player, he hasn't really seen minutes, but I want to see Carrizo kind of come into his own this year because He's make the
Maximo
bench.
Carrizo.
Maximo Carrizo.
I
He's
think
supposed to be like this wonder kid number 10 from, but he's been sort of like you remember Joba Chamberlain from the Yankees?
Java.
Yeah, yeah, a
Yeah.
little
Jabba
bit, yeah.
Chamberlain? Yeah. Well, like the Yankees kind of hindered his progression because they held him back on pitch counts. I feel like Carrizo might be like held back a little bit on his. We have to keep him with the twos, stuff like that. I want to see him sort of break out this year, so he will be someone I'm looking forward to. Maybe actually in this match he might come in. So
Yeah, that's interesting because again, that sounds fairly similar to what I think I'm seeing from the Union with Kevin Sullivan too. Is it kind of like it's like, oh, we've already sold this guy, Manchester City in some way, shape, or form, or have some deal when he turns 18 or whatever. And and the league keeps blowing him up. Youngest player to play, all this kind of stuff. And it's like you're blowing up a guy who played like less than 500 minutes last year, and so I'd like to see him, come and come into his own and kind of play some games and get more time this year. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see some of those guys.
I have a question. Did
I'm
you
glad
see
you.
his episode? Did you see his
I
episode on?
didn't.
I think you should watch it. I don't know if your perception of him stays the same after that episode of
All right,
Offside.
I'll have to watch. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He
I
came
don't know
up.
what to
He
think
came,
of these
but
young
you know
kids
what?
anymore.
He's exactly that's what I was
I
saying.
know
He's
he's
also
young, but
a
it's like when you're like a
14-year-old
teacher.
in 2025. That is like
Yeah,
I can't. I'm 38 years old. How can I relate to a 14-year-old?
no,
Like, I
I'm
can
not trying
literally
to
be his
relate to the
father.
kid. I'm trying to be like you're giving me weirdo streamer vibes that think that everything's for clout. So that
Yeah,
like
I could totally see that. I
so
could totally
that's what
see
it's
that.
like. All right, like if you England is gonna kill you if you go with that attitude. So
Yeah, yeah. That's what I love about his brother. Like Quinn is like it seems to be the total opposite of that. Like Quinn's like, I gotta work hard on the field. I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna do all the things. And yeah, Calvin is like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're about here, whether you're about playing or not. I'm glad you mentioned Matt Freese. I think Matt's one of those guys. I Philly's had a couple of those that they brought in the time that Andre Blake has been there, and you're not gonna upseat Andre Blake.
Yeah.
And so,
Correct.
John McCarthy being one of those guys,
mhm.
um, Zach McMath right at the beginning of Blake's tenure. And then Matt Freese is another one who, now they're starting around the league or they have kind of spots around the league where they're playing and different things like that. But it's like you're not gonna take Andre Blake out of his one being Philly's number one. But I'm glad to hear that he's succeeding. I'm glad to hear that he's kind of taken another step in his development. And I think that was our hope early on that he would challenge for the U.S. number one. And,
But you
hopefully
guys do
that
that a
does
lot
come to
though,
fruition.
because you guys also gave us Perea.
Yeah.
So like, and mind you, he's not starting for us. He's injured right now,
Well,
but
he's been hurt. He's been
he's
hurt.
been
He hasn't
hurt.
played
But
all season.
he's somebody that comes in and
Has been impact. He's made
he's
an
an
impact
impactful
coming.
player.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I feel like
Yeah.
you guys have a history of this sort of Moneyball esque thing, and I don't know if this going forward you guys can keep challenging in like long term with it. Like it needs you guys have to like start bringing in folk in order to because I don't know how you do it. You're you're third in the East. I don't know how you guys do it, but you do it almost every single year. But I don't think going forward it's gonna be something to maintain. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, you guys want to do construction on the stadium to bring
Yeah.
in more fans. Yeah, you guys need a
Uh,
star.
Again, it's those times where it hits and it doesn't, and um, I think about the guys we've sold over the past, couple years and, bigger clubs. And it's like, could Paxton Aronson have stayed around for a couple more years before we sold him? And, he went to Germany and now he's in, uh, I can't even think of where he is right now.
He's
But,
back at Leeds,
you
right?
know, uh,
Or
his brother
His brother,
Brendan,
yeah,
his Brendan is
Brandon.
back at Leeds. Paxton, I think, is in the Netherlands.
oh,
Yeah.
he's
That's
at
what I was about to
PSV.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mark McKenzie being another one that I think we could have held on to some of those guys for a little bit longer, and they would have turned into stars for Philly. But then it's like, would the European teams have kept calling? And who knows? But I think it is one
My
of those things I
neighbor.
would like to see us get a star.
my neighbor, Jack McGlynn, we're actually from the same neighborhood,
Okay.
in Middle Village, Queens. Him leaving, I was also shocked of him leaving and going to Houston
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
felt, and he's dominating over there, like to the best of Houston's abilities. But he's having a good season. Had a couple. He had a really good assist the other day.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's concerning about uh, letting being okay with letting players leave. I
Yeah.
guess we're in the same boat too because we're letting players leave too who are
Yeah.
impact players who are starters, and we're just like we're both in like a position of limbo of like, all right, we kind of need to want to take the next step again and go ahead because Philly's been the top of the East contenders for almost past almost 5 6 years. So like we want to in New York City as well. We want to maintain that level.
It's
Yeah.
like sometimes I'll see how you guys do business, and it's frustrating because it's like you guys play it from the outside in. You guys are it's like very small market mentality, but to constantly be in like the top four in the East, it's you're almost like contradicting where the league is going, which is frustrating because I think like on our side it's almost like the league we're trying to mimic your spending style but with the pizzazz that the league wants, and it doesn't meet. So like,
Yeah.
like we have like we've been keen to a lot of not necessarily inside information but more just like transfer policies that are in the on the team, and they literally just want to have like buy low sell high and keep that for a while. So I don't know if it's because they're waiting. Every team is waiting for the World Cup to pass by, and then maybe do the splash purchases there, where everybody all eyes are on that
Hmm.
summer. Um, it is, but it feels like it is a weird place. Like a lot of our team, like the Easter team, really are like waiting for signings or something. It's like the
Yeah.
sweepstake of who can get the biggest star to come next.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. It seems like with the kind of uh a- aging stars or the stars that come over towards the end of their career, it is kind of like a waiting game for some of them right now. With like a Thomas Mueller, maybe coming, and it's like, all right, who's he gonna go to? And it's some of those kind of same deals as like it does seem like teams are, I don't know who's coming, but the union will have, if this Gazdag thing goes through, like the union will have some money to spend, but we'll see what they actually do with it.
14 million or
Um,
something like that is what I saw.
Something like that.
That'd be probably the
Um,
biggest inter league transfer.
yeah, I mean, McGlynn's was 2 million
But
too.
but
Um,
14? Oh no,
oh, I
four.
don't think it's
Sorry,
gonna be.
four.
I don't
Sorry,
think it's
it's
gonna be
four.
14. I don't think it's gonna be 14. It'll
No,
be
sorry,
four.
it's four. Because
Yeah,
I'm thinking about something else.
yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting. They'll have some money to spend, and we'll see what happens with it. But all of that kind of stuff. You guys have had sort of an up and down season, I guess. Started out okay, won a couple games, but then have had some disappointing results over the last couple of weeks. How do you guys feel like? Where do you feel like the season is trending? You're kind of sitting in the middle of the tight East middle area at the moment. Where do you feel like the season is trending for you guys?
Season of
I
vibes.
think I think at best the mid, like
Yeah,
the best of the worst, you know.
but like,
um because we have a problem right now with our team where so far this season, unless something drastically changes in the mentality, we can't seem to finish games off.
yeah,
We've let in a lot of late goals. Almost we I think we went like four straight games where we let in a late goal, which either cost us the win and resulted in a tie, or we lost matches. So that's something that we have to kind of pay attention to. The last week's game against Minnesota, we were exposed of having a lackluster start of the game.
yeah,
So and then which led to surprisingly like the coach making two subs in the 40th minute, no injury, just like straight like y'all not showing me enough.
hmm
Y'all,
Yeah.
I want to make a statement. So there's like a mentality issue that has to happen. I think that also has to deal with like the lack of leadership in the team. There's not that many veterans, and
So
the ones
we're
that
one of the
are
youngest
veterans
teams in the
are like
league.
really young players also. They're like 22, 23 who've been their academy, who came up through the academy, who've been around for a bit. So unless something drastically changes um, with incoming players, I can't see us getting higher than like sixth or seventh. Like
Yeah,
honestly, like that's like very wishful thinking right
like
now.
yeah, that for us is like we're hoping that the teams below us just super underperform to the level of you guys are not even a factor because if
Yeah,
anybody below us maybe gets two, maybe three more wins than us, it like we're not going to be able to match that.
Yeah.
So it's just like the it's hard. It's hard. It's hard being a fan and like getting excited for results because I'm only getting excited for what I think the future might look like at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I thinking about last season, I definitely like relate to that a ton of like, there was just no hope. It was just like, I don't think the Union are going to, it's like maybe they'll get it together, but they're probably not going to. Like maybe they'll get it, they're probably not going to. And then, not making the playoffs. And it's like, ah, man, this is not fun.
yeah. You get like a moment of like false hope. Like you win a good game, you look good,
Yeah.
uh, and we're shaking and baking, and you could say, and then the next week we get humbled immediately. And it's just that seesaw emotions. I think we're in as for NYCFC. I think we're gonna be in that emotion in that state of mind a lot this season,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And honestly, I'm kind of nervous playing Philly this week
Yeah.
because we against Minnesota it was probably one of the first halves of NYCFC in like in a long time. Like it was really bad. We didn't do nothing until those subs, and then things kind of changed a lot. But it's a good time for Philly to be facing us, and it's a bad time for us to be facing Philly. I think.
Yeah.
Besides the rivalry aspect that the players might have towards each other and the fans, and everything, it adds like an extra added juice element to the
Hmm.
game. I wouldn't be surprised at any result that happens this weekend. We could get destroyed by Philly. We could somehow manage to get a win, a draw. Like none of that would surprise me, just because our team is so inconsistent right now. And yeah, I'm genuinely a little nervous. So I'm like the Yankees. I'm living in the past against Philly right now. That's all I got this week. Yeah.
uh, you guys have any predictions for this weekend? You just said anything could happen. I think that's totally true at this
Oh,
point in the season for sure. Any predictions for this weekend?
So we're playing at City Field, right?
yeah.
I believe the last time we played Philly in City Field,
Ooh.
NYCFC supporters, the third rail, made the giant tifo about the kissing the ring,
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
and then y'all went down and just pummeled us that game. I think we lost 2-0 or something. We don't have such a great record at City Field as we do at Yankee Stadium. For some
Hmm.
reasons, the the house that Jeter built has more of an aura for us.
Hmm.
But the Mets it's contagious. That
Yeah.
Met thing
That's
is contaging us. When we go to City Field, our win loss record is not that great there,
Hmm.
and so as a prediction, on a Saturday night, it might be a little chilly, it might be cold. The last time we played there, as a matter of fact, was when we got eliminated by the Rebels in the
the
playoffs last
playoffs.
year. So it's a house of horrors for us. It really is. It's like
Yeah. I think.
I don't like City Field.
Yeah. So what you think about the score?
I'm gonna go with jeez, I'm gonna go 2-2 draw. You know,
Okay.
a little spicy, a little and somehow you know what, we come back and tie the game.
Oh, there you
I'm gonna
go.
go 0-0.
You know,
Nil
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 nil.
nil.
nil. Yeah.
Jesus,
Interesting.
Nil
we're
nil
Interesting.
is
highly
gonna
capable of that.
0-0.
I
A
think it's
bunch of
so.
chances though. A bunch of chances. Emotions will be high, but 0-0.
I think it's gonna be interesting. Last weekend, Philly played Orlando, and so on the MLS pregame, and then on the beginning of the broadcast, they're like, Philly comes in with 15 goals on the season. Orlando has 13. This is gonna be a barn burner game. Everybody's gonna score, and then it was a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm hoping that's gonna change this weekend. That feels a little bit different. I just said 2-1 on our podcast. I feel like the change in system for the Union plays a little bit better in New York than I think our previous systems have played, and so I think it'll be a good game regardless. I think it'll be a fun game regardless. But uh, I could see almost anything happening. I could see you guys coming out with a 3-0 win. Everybody being like, "What happened?" And I could see us coming out with a 3-0 win and be like, "Ah, Philly's on fire," and who knows?
I'll give you a little fan sided tidbit for the Philly fans, right? So NYCFC fans, our supporters, we're actually under a sanction right now, where this is actually the last game of the sanction with no flags, no drums, no banners for our
Okay,
supporters. And uh, uh, word on the street is that the Philadelphia fans coming into town will be allowed the drums
interesting.
and everything. So depending how many Philly fans come, the away section usually is a really good section with an overhang that even a small amount of people could get really loud just because
Wow,
how
yeah,
where they're located.
They put them
So
right in
it
front
would
of
on the
the
broadcast,
booth.
and it's close to the broadcast
It's literally
booths.
right in front of the broadcast booth.
Yeah, so it could have a reverse feeling for atmosphere wise.
yeah,
Like as a NYCFC fans might have a very low moment because we've been suffering from that, having low atmospheres without all the extra stuff that we're allowed, and Philly being able to do that, it could change the momentum atmosphere wise in the stadium.
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting. See what happens.
Mm.
Um, Love to ask you guys kind of unrelated to NYCFC a little bit, but
Sure.
just kind of more city related. I think what's interesting, just kind of watching New York from the outside, is you guys now have NYCFC. Um, you kind of have the Red Bulls, kind of have Gotham. Now you have Brooklyn, both teams in USL. So now you've got 5 generally professional. At USL still, semi-pro in some ways, but you've got 5 basically professional soccer teams in the city, or close to it. How does that, sit with you guys as soccer fans? Have you guys experienced some of the Brooklyn stuff? Has
Not
that?
at all. Brooklyn is they held
Not
off
at all,
for
no.
to play, so only their women's team is playing right now out of
Okay,
Coney Island. Um, Rebel Gotham doesn't really exist for us, and then upstate. I mean, that's upstate. So it's like Brooklyn FC hasn't really kicked off in the way
okay,
that they try to. I don't know for whatever reason, but they will eventually. I think they're
yeah,
trying to figure out if they're trying to do the top tier USL or like the
yep,
championship level, whatever one before that. Um, as a footy fan, I'm cool with it because New York is big enough that you make a decision if you want to.
mhm,
It could be the war of the boroughs for all like it.
yeah,
Every borough has enough people in it to fit 2 stadiums worth. So
Not
it's not like we
almost
have
not many people in the city, so it's like there's definitely
yeah,
there's
people to go
people that
around.
to go.
Yeah,
But that's like them. Like I don't really like
I
I'm
think
aware they exist, but I'm not gonna go necessarily see like a Brooklyn FC
yeah,
game.
I
yeah,
think as 10 plus years of New York City FC playing the games, it's obvious walking down the streets. Of course, you don't see jerseys, NYCFC jerseys or Rebel jerseys walking around like commonly,
yeah,
like a lot, but you will see NYCFC jerseys way more than Rebel jerseys,
Hmm.
like
yeah,
throughout New York City, throughout the boroughs, throughout where I'm at in Queens. Is like uh the city is starting to embrace the team a
Mm.
lot more as New York City soccer team. Like this is the
yeah,
team that this is the main team, New York City, and something that the Rebels tried for 20 plus years to do, and they were just incapable of doing it. I guess the main factor is actually playing within the confines of the
Hmm.
city,
And
mm-hmm,
like being
and
stubborn about it.
mm-hmm,
and I think we see a little bit more. And Gotham, I think I you kind of see a little bit of Gotham here and there in the soccer bars and stuff, but unfortunately, it's not as big as they would want to be. You know.
yeah. Yeah, I'm probably most like as a football fan and as somebody who wants to see, football more prevalent in the US, I think I'm excited. I'm probably most excited for Brooklyn women and what they can do, like having a women's team in the city seems like an exciting concept and all that kind of stuff. I think it's you want to see soccer succeed, and you want to see the teams do well. And so I'm hoping Brooklyn's able to do it, and do it well. But yeah, it's just it's just interesting because Philly like doesn't have a women's team anywhere near the top levels. Why? I don't know. It feels like it's also a city that could support that, and we just haven't since the independents went out of business a long time ago. And so, um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the next couple of years.
And keeping apart with the women's game, there has been murmuring that once the stadium is built, I think the team is waiting for the stadium
Hmm.
to get into the women's team because there is a girls academy happening right
Okay.
now already. There is a girls academy, so that has to lead to a
Yeah.
pathway to professionalism at some point.
Yep.
Uh, and I think once we get the stadium and they announce the women's team, imagine having three pro women's teams
Yep.
in the area.
Yeah.
That will be spicy on its own. It could be its
Yep.
own heated thing. It will be a reminder of when the Cosmos were around.
Hmm.
Obviously, they played in the lower league, but whenever there was a matchup between the Cosmos and the two MLS teams, it was always spicy. It was always like
Yep.
that made the news. Those moments made crossed over into mainstream local media.
I'll say
You
this:
know,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
like taking my fandom hat completely off, the stadium being in city proper or right next to an established stadium location, so it doesn't feel foreign to travel there. I feel like that is gonna do so much for the game overall
Yep.
in our area of the country specifically because teams now no longer have to go to MetLife to play international matches or club friendlies don't have to go. Imagine South American club friendlies that don't have to go to Harrison anymore to go play
Hmm.
are now.
let's break down a little bit of geography first, real
Mm.
quick.
But
So
I'm
we're
just saying
City
with
Field.
that just with that alone, I'm just saying like
Yeah,
the tension that the international world is just gonna see it. They're gonna see it as yo, hey, we get to play in New York, just
yeah.
playing out just
The
that.
Yep.
in the
Yep.
neighborhood where the stadium is coming, it's literally the epicenter of all Latin American countries in New
Yeah.
York City.
Hmm.
Like
And even
Corona,
Asia too,
Queens
because you have Flushing right there is probably the
is just
largest
like
Chinese community in the city.
has like the biggest Latin American communities in the U.S.
Hmm.
So it's like it's just imagine having these international teams, international countries, instead of playing in Rebel Arena, which is like 20 miles. It could take you. It's taken me. They say Rebel Arena is close to New York City. It's taken me over 2.5, 2 hours plus to get home by car. And
Yeah.
I don't live far. I don't live like in the outskirts of the city where I'm heading towards Long Island. I'm like I'm 20 minutes from Midtown.
Yeah.
Why is it taking me 2 hours to get to Harrison, New Jersey? It's really going to change the landscape of the soccer world in this part of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I was able to travel to London just a couple months ago and went out to a Leighton Orient game. So, League Two, smaller
Mm.
team. But, on the way there, I got the where the train station was, it was like the West Ham fans got off at the same part to head to their game, at London Stadium. It was just so fun to be in the midst of all this stuff happening and, all the people and people walking to the game and all that kind of stuff. And so if you can get in one of those communities where, hey, we can go two subway stops down or whatever, and or we can
Yeah.
walk to the game, all of that kind of stuff, like that's going to create just an incredible atmosphere, that's just so different from, even for Philly fans driving to Chester and kind of being 35, a lot of times 30, 35 minutes outside the city. It's like, oh, cool, we can just walk there. We can, take the subway or whatever, and we can be there, fairly quickly. That's
So
cool.
that's very similar to going to Harrison, New Jersey, if you live anywhere in the boroughs.
Yeah.
But because it's like you're going somewhere else, it's
Yep.
kind of like where the stadium is at. It's not really. It doesn't look like your neighborhood. It doesn't look like where you're from,
Right.
except that it takes us a little longer to get there.
You just want to
Hmm.
leave.
The
You just
public
feel like you want to
transportation
leave.
is a major issue to get to Harrison. The car situation is like there's no highway ramp that leads you into the stadium. It's like literally
Hmm.
down the road. You got to go through local streets. It's a mess. So being able to walk like I grew up, I used to walk to Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
Like that's how close it was. It was walking distance. Where Yusuf grew up, he walks to Yankee
Yeah.
Stadium.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and now having the soccer stadium across the street, literally across the street from City Field, it's going to be a major impact.
I have a question
Yeah.
for you though regarding your stadium, and you know, I know I'm pretty sure there's a lot of context to it, but whenever I pass by like Lincoln, what is it? Forget the
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo,
Yeah.
and what's the other one? The
Uh,
city's
Baseball
Lincoln
Field.
Financial Field, Citizens Bank Park,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
So
Wells Fargo.
that like complex that's there, there
Hmm.
seems
All
to
the banks.
yeah,
It's like a bank community stadium park.
there
Yeah,
seems to
exactly.
like it seems that there's enough space, or there was space whenever for a soccer stadium there. That why wasn't I don't understand the whole revitalization of Chester part, but did fans never like kind of voice their opinion on like, hey, we kind of want this in Philly where our other teams play, and it can you can draw that crowd, and build the team even there? Because
Yeah,
was there anything to that? Like, was there any pushback between from the fans from that? I just wanted to know, like, what's the stance on that?
yeah. There was kind of two when the stadium was first announced, or where the stadium was going to be was first announced. There was kind of the two opinions, right? It was like this revitalization of Chester, and a lot of fans got on board with that, and we were excited about that, and we're like, hey, that's cool, let's go do that. And then there was this other piece of like, all right, why is it not in the city though? Like, why is it not in Philadelphia where everything else is located? And like, let's be right there. And so I think that there was a lot of um, yeah, fans were kind of on one or the other side, but I think a lot of people got on board with the revitalization of Chester when the plans were announced. But right when the plans were announced was when the housing crisis happened. Banks wouldn't give loans, all this kind of stuff, and then the union couldn't do what they wanted to do. They couldn't end up building out what they promised the fans when they said, "Hey, let's build this thing out." And so they were building this whole community with retail, with some housing stuff, with the stadium and all this kind of stuff. And it was going to totally revitalize Chester. Well, they got the stadium built, and then they ran out of money and ran out of finances to do really anything else. And so now it's been 15 years of trying to figure out, okay, how do we continue to do what we said we were going to do a long time ago? So they've started some of it now. The academy has fully moved out to Chester now. So all of that is located right there now, and the training facility. So the academy, the training facility, and the stadium are all in the same spot now,
Yeah.
which I think the
I
team likes. But the
we've seen
fans
those
are still
before.
like, don't like that.
Gotcha. No doubt.
All right.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar
So.
to Rebel Arena. The part of Rebel Arena was like, let's put this in the middle of nowhere, the middle of nothing, because Harrison, New Jersey was nothing when the stadium went
Hmm.
up, and it took so many years for something to actually start happening. That now, within from 5 years to now, they've actually developed the area where in around the stadium where it's unrecognizable to some people who haven't been there 15 years. It's
Yeah.
different, and
Yeah.
in 15 years plus, who knows how it'll be. But New York City FC Stadium, it's literally also in the middle of nowhere. Like across the street from City Field, there's nothing. There's
Valley of
nothing. It's
Hmm.
Ashes.
just open land, and they're developing they're building a whole new neighborhood, 2,000 plus apartments, affordable housing, a school, a firehouse,
A hotel.
I think a hotel, a police precinct.
Hmm.
They're literally starting from scratch an entire neighborhood, one of the biggest development projects in New York City history. Um,
Hmm.
just to accommodate to go with the stadium, so the
Mm.
stadium is also not in the middle of nowhere. And the biggest thing was that the housing, I think like 30 or 40% of the housing had to be built first
Yeah.
before the
Hmm.
stadium,
Oh,
before the
and
stadium,
privately funded stadium.
and
Which is
100% privately
huge.
funded
A
stadium.
100%,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
was
so
always the
like the
goal.
housing, people might be starting to move into the buildings maybe by the end of this year or early next year,
Mhm.
and then the second phase is going to start, and it's really cool what's happening now, in that whole neighborhood. That's going to be in 5 years is going to be completely different than what I remember growing up.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, I love what Philly's doing now with that area, but it just sucked because they promised it 15 years ago, and then they built it and it didn't happen. And so now they're doing some good work there, and it has led to some really good things happening in Chester. But when you tell the fans, "Hey, this is what's going to happen," and then you don't do it, the outcry can be a little ridiculous. So there was I think, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a pretty legitimate complaint of like, let's go back into Philly. Like, this stadium is fine, but like, let's move back into Philly somewhere. Um, but the team didn't want to do that. So
Mm.
it is what it is.
It's understandable.
Yeah. Well, cool guys. Thanks for jumping on tonight and chatting and giving us some insight into NYCFC. I think this has been a great conversation and our fans will enjoy it. So thanks for jumping on tonight.
Yeah, man.
No, thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us, man.
having us.
Yeah.
And we are you making the voyage to City Field this weekend?
I'm not making the voyage this weekend, but hopefully at some point. I haven't actually gotten to go to an MLS game in New York City, either in New York City or Harrison yet. I've been to Red Bull Arena a couple times for a couple different things, but um I haven't been for an MLS game. So I will have to make the trek at some point in time.
Oh,
All
let us
right.
know.
Well, if you don't make it to City Field or Yankee Stadium in 2 years, we'll have our own stadium
There you go.
to roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably when that game happens, I'll try to make a trip up.
Word.
All right.
Cool.
Thank
All
you,
right.
man.
Well,
I'll see you soon. I might be making the trip to Philly this season, so if I do, I will hit you up.
cool. Awesome. Well, tell us
Yeah.
before we go, just tell us where we can find you guys and if we want to listen into your stuff, where can we do that?
So that's
So our podcast is on Instagram and Twitter, NYCFC Forever Pod. You can listen to us on uh, all
whatever
streaming platforms.
podcast
YouTube,
platforms.
watch us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
All
And
that.
personally, my Instagram and Twitter handles at John Sanchez, JONSANCH3Z.
And mine is at underscore RICART
Cool.
IST.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys a bunch, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Come on.
All right, so I gotta keep it open.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It should be.
U66 Holy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Looks like you guys are good now. So
So
thank you guys so much for jumping on. It was fun.
no, thank you
That
for
was a
having
good
us.
conversation for sure.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it,
us, and good luck with the pod.
Yeah, I'll definitely when I put all this out, I'll definitely tag you guys and all that too.
Cool.
This is coming out
feel free to.
tomorrow.
I haven't, probably tomorrow. Yeah, I haven't. I was like, do I put